Hello everyone, thanks for joining this session. I'm here today to talk with you about finding a balance, which has been probably one of my biggest challenges to face as a software engineer in this JavaScript ecosystem. I'm Lorenzo Sciandra and I'm a software engineer at Formidable here in London, UK. I'm also an open source maintainer. I collaborate with the React Native team, and also I organize a meetup for open source maintainers, which is, well, currently on hold because of COVID, but it's something that I'm really passionate about. So if you're interested, if you're in London, please reach out. I would love to, tell you a bit more about this meetup. When I first, saw the CFP for this conference, there was a really interesting question that Fred and Drew wrote in the CFP, which is, how do you see the JavaScript dev community 5 years from now? And my first take was quite cynic, and it was like, well, who knows? How can anyone know? Like, usually what we've seen in the past is that 5 years is a super long time. We're probably not writing the code that we're going to write in 5 years. So how can anyone tell? But at the same time, like a second answer came to mind, and it was more of a hope than an actual affirmative, polished answer. And it's that my hope is that in 5 years, the JavaScript community, the dev ecosystem is going to be kinder. I really hope that we could, all take a step to make our current environment a better place. I don't probably need to sell you on the idea that currently, the dev space is not that great of an experience for some people. If you're an open source maintainer, if you're an underrepresented person in tech, or more in general, if you're someone trying to do something, even just on GitHub, there's a likely chance that you may end up being in an issue where someone will misbehave, will make you not feel welcome, and is going to turn basically that issue in a Reddit thread. And don't get me started on Twitter. Like, there are even dedicated accounts to report what the JavaScript community has been mad about for the last week. So, that's the current status, and I don't think it's great. And if that wasn't enough, I'm pretty sure we're all aware that there are bigger things going on in the world, and that all of this together can be a really huge amount of things to take on, to be, constantly pressured to be on top of, to constantly know everything about and be on the forefront. And it can be overwhelming. Like, the whole situation in the world can be overwhelming. And precisely because something like this happens, and this feeling brings me to, take a step back and focus on what I can control. And one thing that I really believe in is that to be a better community in our JavaScript space, in our development space, we need to first take care of ourselves. We need to start looking inward and start to, try to be kinder to ourselves first. So, for the scope of this conversation, I don't want you to think of me as software engineer and organizer, blah, blah. I want you to, think of me on a smaller scale, to see me as an open source maintainer who has experienced burnout a couple times and who has been in therapy for a bit over 2 years. Like, I'm not afraid to say it. Like, I needed help, and I've been going through, a path with a therapist now. That said, I'm not an expert. If you're struggling, please reach out to someone, reach out to a therapist, because that's the best thing you can do. I'm gonna say it more moving on, but asking for help is a sign of strength. So please remember that. What I want to do with you right now is share 3 macro concepts that I want you to take and implement in your life, and 3 micro actionables, let's say, things that you can actually do. And hopefully this sum of parts will make you, will make you kinder towards yourself, which in turn will make you kinder to your community. And 5 years is a pretty long time, so I'm just planting seeds here. Let's start with the macro concepts. And the first one that I want to focus on is one that, unsurprisingly, you should be aware of, because all the open source licenses in open source, or most of them, have this phrasing that the software is provided as is. So what does it mean? Well, first off, it means that you are not, without warranty. You're not guaranteeing anything. And if you're a maintainer, for example, it means that you don't owe anything to anyone. It means that you can just do your work, and that's good enough. But that said, please be respectful of the community that you draw around your software. Everyone comes from a different part of life, so please try to remember that they're just humans as you are. And as a citizen, on the the other half of the target of this conversation is that this provided as is concept means that you're not entitled to anything. You cannot be entitled to support, you're not entitled for feature request. The best thing you can do, instead of opening an issue and complaining about something, is to be proactive. Open a PR, reach out to the maintainer, ask how you can help. And if you're interested in this, in particular, I want you to point your eyes to the open source maintainers or you nothing blog post that Mike McQuaid has wrote a while ago. It's still super useful to read even right now. It's probably like a few years old, but it's still super valid. Macro number 2, you are worth. I kind of touched a bit on this, but I want to make sure that you can take this concept and apply it to yourself, because personally it's the one I struggle the most with. And in particular, this for me, and the part I struggle the most with, is to celebrate your victories. We live in a community, in a space where we feel that we need to be validated by external people, by numbers, by GitHub stars, by followers on Twitter. And let me tell you, that's not good. That's not something you should chase. You should be happy about what you're doing. If you publish a repository and it has 0 star, that's good enough. You should celebrate and own the fact that you've done a repo, that you've published that blog post. And you should celebrate it. I'm serious, celebrate your actions, because you're the first person that should be supportive of yourself. And talking about your relations with the other, there's this third piece of concept that I want to share with you. And this is something that when I kind of understood, kind of unlocked my mind in a way. Because you see, this phrase, which is very precise and very minute, is we are more hurt by our own expectation of other people than by their actions. Is really, really a game changer in my mind. It has been a game changer. And what I mean by that is that, as an open source maintainer, I used to be really, really frustrated whenever I saw a +1 comment on any repository, on any issue that I had. There was always someone posting +1s, and it got me really frustrated. And until I saw this phrase, I never realized why. I never took the time to understand why I was getting frustrated. Like, this person literally just went on a GitHub comment and just typed plus and +1 and then clicked a button. That action in itself is nothing. Why am I getting so frustrated by that? And the answer is that I was more hurt by my expectation, what they should have done. My expectation was, hey, you, author of this comment, should have opened the PR, should have posted, the proper issue template. You should have followed the report system. And instead, you just posted a +1, and that was what I was getting frustrated by, my expectation. And you see, this sort of boils down to having a sense of self. The moment we can try to, be in touch with our emotions and feelings and understand why we're, feeling certain things, where they're coming from, the better we can handle our relationship with other people on the other side of other screens that are behind an avatar, but they're still humans. So please try to, ask yourself, like, why am I feeling the way I'm feeling? Why am I about to post this angry comment on a GitHub issue? Why am I about to, flame someone on Twitter? And try to understand why you're getting frustrated. It could be that, similar to my experience, you're just expecting too much from that people and your expectation doesn't match what they're actually trying to do. And of course, you're going to get mad at that. And I'm not saying this is easy at all. Like, this is probably the hardest part. So, like, having a therapist really helped me a lot with this. Like, getting in touch with your feelings as a male, as someone who was never, like, properly trained in this art, really took a lot of time. But I'm promising you, this is probably the best thing you could do for yourself. And talking about things that instead are kind of easier, kind of like more actionables, let's turn our attention to 3 micro actionables, things that you could do right now, right away, and kind of improve the kindness that you have for yourself. And I hope that some of these you are actually already doing. Like, it would be great if I'm gonna tell you all of this, it's gonna be like, yeah, I already do all of them. That's great for you, and I'm cheering for you. But also, like, they come from my experience. Some may be slightly polarizing, so please, if you want to, send me a message about them, please be kind. Remember that this is my experience. You probably have a different experience. It's fine. Just find something that works for you. First micro, remove all the notifications. This is kind of like, self-explanatory. Just to give you an example, I'm a maintainer for React Native. As you can see here, I'm not watching the repository. I'm not keeping up with all the issues ongoing, all the PRs ongoing, because it's just too much. Receiving all the notifications is something that we have kind of, it's the easy path. We just click watch, and then we get a stream of noise, and we can barely ever see the useful things there. So what I'm suggesting is that you turn off all of them, and instead, subscribe to the precise issue, subscribe to the precise PR that you want to keep an eye on. And also, like, for example, emails don't work for me. So I've disabled GitHub from sending me any notifications, aside from, someone is trying to hack your account, those kind of things. And instead, when I want to be on GitHub, when I want to take care of things on GitHub, I need to be on the website. It's also helping me, focus and be like, okay, if I'm on GitHub, I take care of GitHub stuff. And then, no push notifications. You probably may have seen this, as the trajectory was going, but I have removed basically all the notifications from my mobile phone. Now all the Android and iOS systems kind of give you a way to do so, and I highly recommend you do so, because notifications should be only for important things, and 90% of the notifications that apps want to send you are not useful. And I can tell you that because I've been an app developer for quite some time now. Like, just mute them all. They're pointless. They're just wasting your brain energy. Micro number 2, do open source in small bursts of time. And in particular, if you can, if you're allowed to, do those, open source contribution, those 15 minutes of work about open source, do them during your daily working hours. I know this is not something that everyone can do, and if that's the case, I would recommend still trying to do them right before or right after your working hours. And the reason why is that you should try to normalize for yourself, for your brain, that what you're doing is still work. We live in a weird space where open source is kind of seen as not work, but it's also like an unpaid internship sometimes. And you should always try to remember to yourself that that's still work. I'm not getting paid, doesn't matter, it's still work. Working on that PR took me 2 hours, good. Tomorrow I'm not gonna look at open source, I'm gonna take time for myself. You see, because like, at least in my experience, when I started doing open source, I was setting for myself like half a day on the weekend, something like that. And then I would just spiral into the tunnel of, I'll just do one more thing and never stop. Because I was doing that with this idea of like, yeah, I do open source whenever, and I never focalized on the fact they still work. And that's so important. And the third micro kind of goes back to this, what I was just saying, which is that your free time is not your open source time. If you want to have time for your open source, you find it and you put a boundary around it and you use the time, and that's it. Your free time should be time for everything else. You should try to stay away from your computer. You should realize that open source is still work. You should dedicate free time to yourself to recover and recharge your batteries. And I know that this is gonna kind of cheating, but hear me out. Like, there's a billion things that you can do outside coding. I've tried a lot of different things to, improve my well-being, recharge my batteries, and I'm gonna just, drop some things over here. I've tried them all. I've tried even more. I didn't want to put too many of them. But here's the thing, there's a lot of things you could do. And I hope that at least one of these catch your attention and, can sort of like help you find something that you want to do or that could improve your day-to-day life. So now we're finally closing off. And to sum it up, I just want to make sure that I'm passing the message that these are challenging times. And I'm aware of this. I hope you're aware of this. This could be transformative times. So please, 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 try to take care of yourself. Try to take more time to dedicate to yourself to understand what's going on with you, how you're feeling, because a better you is the first step to get to a better community. And we all need a better community right now around us. And, I've been talking about mental health during this conversation. I just want to make sure I put out there some actual links that you can go and get more pertinent and well-written and, properly informed sources over there. So, these are like for US and for UK, because those are the main two areas. I have some, people that I can ask these links to, but I'm sure that it's just a Google away, probably in your language, in your country. And again, please, 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 if you're struggling, reach out to someone. That's the first step, and that's the better thing you can do for yourself. So I hope that in 5 years I'm gonna look back and see that I was right, that by all being kinder with ourselves we have become a better community. I hope to see you in next year, in the next 5 years, and I hope we're all gonna grow and make our community better. I want to thank Fred and Drew from Pika for organizing this conf. It's a great conference. Thanks to Formidable Labs for allowing me to be here. And please reach out to me. Please write tweets, write DMs. My DMs are open on Twitter, or write me an email. Like, if you have anything around this area that you want to talk with me about, feel free to do so. I also have like a way bigger list of things that you could do and improve on my Notion page. That it's not public, but I'm more than happy to share with you. If you want, just send me DMs. And please take care of yourself and have a nice rest of your day. Take care. Bye.